اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم وأنزلني بالهدى وألهمني التقوى. Today, as promised, we'll address the topic of crying for Imam. But we're coming back to the original question which we posed at the beginning. And that was, what is there to achieve? There still remains something which we have to achieve before these days are over, that we take back with us. What do we want from these gatherings? If you think of everything, you will come to the conclusion that the best of things yourselves and myself could want was to be freed from the fire of Jahannam. So there no longer remains any Jahannami qualities within us. And this we will do through the gatherings of Azadan. And specifically today we want to know how that is done through crying. The tears we shed, how does that help in freeing us from the fire of Jahannam? How do we cry? How should we cry? Let's look at the Imam. His mission, when he went out on this mission, was it for the sake of his family? Was it for the sake of friends? No, it wasn't. Those very friends and those very family members were to be slaughtered with him. So it wasn't for their sake. It was purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our crying needs to be tuned in this way, brothers. It needs to be tuned so it becomes like those tears that came down from the cheeks of Imam. They were not for his family. He wasn't crying because he was alone. He wasn't crying because he had the choice to go back. People came to him and asked him. He had the choice to go back. But he went out to fulfill his mission as his duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although he did cry because he would part any human soul would cry when they had connection with human beings. But for who? For whom was it? He wasn't crying for his family, he was crying for Allah. That his family was that tool and that medium that brought those tears out. And when crying, we have to know that crying is something pure. The Quran says, هُوَ الَّذِي أَضْحَكَ وَأَبْكَى. That He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, makes us instigate that crying and that laughter in human beings. So it's not something we personally try to do on our own. And if it is, then this isn't a real crying. Let's look at the Imam. How does the Imam Sadiq alayhi salam,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
how did he qualify the value of grieving for the Imam? Aran relates from him. As-Sadiq alayhi salam said, the sorrowful sigh over the oppression which has been inflicted upon us, Ahlul Bayt, is what? Imam said, that sorrowful sigh makes, or rather than make, that comes about, is what, brothers and sisters? Imam says it is glorification, tasbih. And the grief upon us is worship, ibadah. How is this so? Where is the connection? Where is doing ibadah and grieving? Where is glorification and having sighs of sorrow on the face? This type of crying which Imam alludes to is the pure fitri crying. The crying that comes about. The crying that does not need the mental process to run through so that tears can flow out. This crying comes about automatically. Why? Because we have allusion to this hadith which says that when the name of Hussein is mentioned, a flame is ignited in the heart of the Muslim. Brothers and sisters, the flame is ignited. We do not ignite it. The crying we are looking for today, the crying that is tasbih, the crying and the sorrow that is ibadah, is not a crying for personal motives. It's not a crying because we remember our children. It's not a crying because we remember the time when we parted with our fellow family. It's a crying which emanates from the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a crying that bears tears like the tears of Hussein alayhi salam, who only walked in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a crying which we call today spiritual crying. Spiritual crying doesn't need one to sing. The moment the name Hussein is mentioned, the heart softens. You don't even need to be listening to that word. But automatically, the heart starts to break. This is the crying Imam As-Sadiq says is tasbih and is ibadah. Now to be frank, this is how we cry. We force ourselves, and inshallah, Allah completes and Allah reward for that. And it is all in the effort to get to that stage where the crying now becomes fitri. It becomes that crying by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now makes you and me cry. So how do you go about to do that? The answer is simple, but the way takes some effort. The crying needs to be purified. The origin of that crying needs to be purified. If we notice in history, the way Majlis al-Azhar used to take place and the way it takes place now, we would understand there's some difference. Today, we're all here together. We all feel in the mood. We know it's respectful to cry. We've been joking our culture. It's good stuff to cry like this. People around us crying, it also makes us cry. The culture has been established. But in the time of the Imam alayhi salam, it wasn't like that. Individuals would go up and recite couplets. It was done in small numbers. It was done often secretly. After the time of Shaykh Mufid rahmatullah alayh, it became an institution. It became as an established majalis, and people would come together and they would